obviously faced the Eagles a few times. Is this? It seems like a lot of their players are the same. They run essentially the same stuff that you were familiar with compared in 22 and 23.
I mean, there are some, same couple guys, but with Vic Fangio being there and their scheme being slightly different, it's different. So there's that, but also just the talented players, obviously, that they have are still there. And, as a whole, I feel like just like who the Eagles are, that sort of still feels the same just in terms of them being a really good organization and a team that's going to bring it every game, and you got to be on your best to have a chance against them. So we all feel that. So that in itself is the same.
Going back to Philadelphia in January, it's just 3 years later, but is it causing any reflection on just what your journey has been like? I mean, that 3 years, your life has changed so much?
A little bit, but not really. Obviously I'm thankful to be able to have healed up from the injury and go to a Super Bowl and have 3 more seasons after what had happened there. But, more than anything, it's, our 2025 season and trying to finish strong and go in and compete against a new team, scheme kind of feel. That's where my mindset's at with that. Obviously, we know Philly and being there and their environment, their fans, all the things. It's getting prepared for that right now rather than, having flashbacks or anything like that. I already went there in 2023 and played after what had happened in 22, so I feel like that's out of the way and ready to move on.
Fears at that moment that your career could be, your future could be in jeopardy?
Back in 22? Yeah. You tear your UCL, the ligament that you use as a quarterback, as a thrower. Obviously you start thinking about your future and things and coming back from the injury. And it was at the end of the year, so I was questioning, will I be back in time? Will I be the guy come the start of the season? Stuff like that. So, I feel like in the moment, yes, but now we're moved on and ready to go.
In this system, once you break the huddle, what is your checklist of things that you need to acknowledge or notice or see at the line of scrimmage before the ball is snapped?
Man, there's a lot. Every play has its own, deal, and obviously what we're trying to do, whether it's run or pass. And obviously I think the front has a big play in terms of what we're trying to do protection-wise. And then from there, looking at the safety structure, and I know quarterbacks always say that. What's the front? What are the safeties doing? And then sort of assess the little details from there. But, in our offense with the amount of shifts and motions and snap points, like that's a whole nother dynamic that you have to be on top of. Kyle puts that on us as the quarterbacks to manage that. But it all, once you're on top of it and you execute in the right way, it's for a reason and a really good reason. So, I don't know. I feel like those are the main things that I sort of have to break the huddle and be on top of. Snap point, different motions, and we have a motion coming from outside in, snapping the ball inside that receiver, outside that receiver. Juice on all his different kind of motions as well. Like snap points are a big part of our offense.
There's a lot of light boxes this week, and may face them again. What's the challenge of throwing when teams are have 6 guys in the box?
Yeah, obviously that means coverages and stuff. Guys dropping back in zone can be more difficult when there's guys out there, and the goal obviously is to be able to run the ball really well in those instances. But the minute they do stack the box at some point in the game, then you have to be ready to be able to throw the ball and execute in that regard. So I feel like Kyle does a good job with making sure that we all understand what kind of game it's going to be. If they're going to load the box, what our answer is. If they're not, let's do our job, whether it's still throwing the ball or running the ball really well, efficiently. So, I feel like the Eagles do a good job of switching things up and making it hard to run the ball with their front that they have and dropping guys back in coverage. So we respect the heck out of what they do, but, we also got to be on top of our job and have success in what we've always done.
So many young guys on the field.
Does it feel, it's been a couple of years, like you said. Has it gotten stronger, like, every year? Is it the strongest it's ever been? How confident are you in it now compared to maybe a few years ago?
Man, that's a tricky question just because, you get hurt and then you're trying to rehab to get back to feeling good as a thrower and it's always hard to tell, like, is my arm stronger or not? Like, I'd like to think so. But, for me, like, where I'm at, that was 3 years ago, so it's tough to, go back and say, all right, my arm is stronger than it was 3 years ago. Honestly, I don't know the answer to that, but I do feel, all I know right now is I feel really good, with the throws that I can make across the field and taking shots downfield, throwing the ball outside the numbers, you name it. Like, I feel good with where I'm at. So hopefully that answers your question, but, I feel like all the rehab and all the arm care stuff that we do here has allowed me to be at my best right now. So.
I talked about how maybe there was a little frustration after the last game versus Seattle. What is your role in making sure that the mood and the attitude in the offensive player rooms are positive going forward?
Yeah, I think, guys have done a good job of just understanding, like, yeah, it sucked what had happened and not capitalizing on a really good opportunity. But, we are in the playoffs and we don't have time to dwell on the negative things. Yes, let's learn from them, but we got to move on and flip the page pretty quickly because we're about to go and our season's on the line now. And so for us to go into a hostile environment, you got to be on top of your stuff. You got to have some energy and momentum as a team to go in and believe that you can do your job at a high level. So that's where we've been at. The guys in the locker room all feel that. There's definitely a sense of urgency, and it's the playoffs, man. So, I feel like you're 0-0, moving forward now. And I feel like it's a good thing for us, just obviously how the season ended, but the regular season. But, guys are excited for this opportunity.
With so many young guys on the team with that hostile environment, how much conversation does there have to be just to help them get prepared for that?
Yeah, I think, one, we've had guys that have played there, so we understand that. And obviously guys that have been in the NFL that have played in Philly, they get that. But, Kyle's done a good job, too, of, from the beginning of the week, like showing, all right, this is the environment that we're going to go into, and we have to be ready for X, Y, and Z. And so I think for the young guys, they have a good idea, but, you're not going to know until you get there and you feel it. So it's going to come down to execution in big moments and, not allowing the environment to get you out of your zone. You got to be locked in however you can for 4 quarters. So.